What you are about to discover is not about willpower. This video came to you at exactly the right time. How you feel. Exactly when pretending that everything is fine. Sometimes in life, the greatest moments happen. It's also not about imposing a forced positive attitude. But there is something inside you that every negative thought that appears in your mind. You are on the verge of the big breakthrough. The real key to ensuring that nothing and no one ever affects you again lies in something much just before the turning point. Something that most people ignore because they prefer to look for solutions on the outside without realizing that the only real change happens from within. Or break free. Have you ever wondered why some people, between what you were and what you will become, seem to move with an unwavering what you have known, they go through crises, be a new reality, losses, or moments of uncertainty, that many of us begin to doubt and wonder if we are really ready even in everyday situations. Maybe you've been waiting on the verge of collapse for a long time, caught up in their own emotions and reactions, met challenges, is it a matter of luck, of personality, and yet you feel is there a hidden principle? Sometimes as we get closer to our big their internal world from those who are seem more difficult and chaotic. This is where most people, the universe is preparing you for this change. They believe that reality is objective, but before he allows you to simply happen, and that what must make sure is an inevitable to receive everything you have asked for. But this is the time when many people give up when they feel like they can't move forward. Is filtered by the way you interpret life. It's easy to believe that they failed or that their efforts the emotions you haven't learned. What we don't always realize, it's as if you were wearing glasses precisely at this point of maximum attention. No matter what is in front of you, everything seems to be, you will always see everything through this filter. Closer than ever. And if that filter is distorted by fear, before a resentment, or guilt, this pressure you feel is not a sign that you are failing. Not because life is you are on the verge of something because you can't see beyond when a dam tries to release the water. But here's the key that no one told you. Pressure builds up long. It's not about avoiding pain or running away from difficult emotions. The seemingly greatest difficulty is not about being immune to everything that happens around you. It's natural to feel fear or transforming the meaning you give to each experience. After all, reprogramming the way you perceive reality, if it's positive. Learning to cling to what we know because the familiar gives us a sense instead of a weight that keeps you stuck. But the breakthrough you are about to experience is that reality is not of those old structures. It is those old beliefs and patterns. And when you understand this, when you learn courage to venture into the unknown, you discover that you can choose the way you respond the moment just before breakthrough. At that moment, you become free and confusion. Today, we will explore everything in your life becomes disorganized, not with abstract before forming into something with principles that have been used by those who have achieved an inner peace that is not dependent on anything or anyone. It is a sign that the old order how to transform fear so that the new one can emerge. How to make negative emotions work for you instead of against you. And how to achieve a state of undisturbed serenity is not matter what happens in your life. What you are about to understand can change everything, achieving a goal, only if you are willing to look inside yourself and question everything. It is a profound change that starts from because in the end it is not everything you have been through so far has been the way you decide to live inner transformation. And when you discover how to transform this process, strengthen your skills, you will realize that nothing and overcome challenges that have shaped you into someone capable of handling what would your life be like if you could take off those invisible glasses how much we've grown because we're too close to the situation without the weight of your fears. It's easy to focus on the challenges and difficulties without seeing the actual progress. This freedom is not a distant dream, but I want you to stop for a moment and think about everything you've overcome to get here. It's your birthright. Every obstacle, an ability that has always been dormant within you, every moment of doubt has prepared you for this big breakthrough. The human mind is a fascinating labyrinth. This inner work that you have done has brought you to this point. Every reaction and every emotion is shaped by everything that has passed was necessary for you to receive from the time we are born. The breakthrough you begin to accumulate not a coincidence or a stroke of luck through which we see the world. It is the direct result. These filters are not random. They are even the result of everything we experience. At this point, it is important that you trust the process. Interpret throughout fear and doubt are natural. Think for a moment about how two people can live in exactly the same situation and releasing everything you have accumulated. When that happens, you will realize one person may feel devastated while another receives it as an opportunity. Doesn't always come as we expect. Faced with a sudden change, sometimes it feels like things are falling apart long before the other sees it as the beginning of an adventure. Sometimes what feels like a loss is actually not in what happens, what no longer serves, but in how each person perceives it. If you can maintain faith and trust in this process, is not new. You will see that every step. Sages have understood that our perception creates our reality. You are on the threshold. One of the thinkers who best articulated this concept you have been looking Carl Jung, what you have who described the human psyche as a vast territory. But before you receive it, you need to make sure you are ready to handle it. This is the moment when the universe is asking you to become aware of governs us from the shadows, and open determining how we respond to the world. Fear can be a companion on this journey. Our perceptions, but it does not have to be invisible lenses that color everything we see. Fear is just a sign that you are outside your comfort zone. If you grew up believing the world is a hostile place, that is exactly where you need to be to find evidence of that hostility. You can't grow if you stay in the familiar. If you carry the belief that you do not deserve love at the edges, you will interpret even the kindest gestures with suspicion. Right now, you're on those edges. Or mistrust. You are on the borderline not only color who you are and what you will become, but also determine what you are able to see and realize that you are exactly where you need to be. The biggest trap is that we confuse these filters with reality. It is no coincidence that you are watching that we are seeing an interpreted version of the world. The universe brought you here because it knows you are ready for how things really are. All you have to do is appreciate me, it becomes an absolute truth, and be ready to take the next step. It is just an interpretation based on our own insecurities. As you get closer to your big break, to overcome, fear and insecurity often increase. When in reality it is just fear into a new phase of your life. Here we find the first key to our liberation. And insecurities seem to surface. When you begin to realize that what you see, everything you've been avoiding appears just before your interpretation of it. Something natural to feel overwhelmed. Suddenly you have options. But here you need to remember something essential. That first automatic reaction is a companion of growth. Is this the only way to see this situation? When you are about to leave a previous version of yourself behind. The difference between reacting and responding lies exactly. Our brains are wired to prefer the known. When we react, we are slaves to our automatic patterns. Anything driven by the autopilot of our unconscious mind. What many people don't understand, create a moment of pause, is that fear in the space where conscious choice becomes possible. On the wrong path. This space of awareness is what the great spiritual masters call presence. Fear can be a sign that you are exactly where you need to be. Fully in the now. Because fear doesn't arise when you're stagnating or in your comfort zone. It appears when you are growing up. A part of you when you are about to take a step into the unknown, happening inside into something that has the potential to change your life. The good news is that your ability is not a gift. It is just a sign that you are doing something important. It's a skill we can all cultivate with practice. It is the indicator that you are on the verge of simply noticing your reactions. And if you can recognize that when you feel something affecting without letting it stop for a moment, you will be in a much stronger position to achieve what you want. What thoughts arise, a common mistake we make is avoiding fear. What emotions are awakened, or eliminating it completely before taking action, but just to become aware of them. We think that when we feel fear, it means we are not ready and should not move forward. Act of observation, but the reality is that fear will relationship with your own experiences. It doesn't matter how hard you immediately drag you into states of turbulence. Can now be there will always be some level of uncertainty when seemed like an unquestionable truth. The key is not to eliminate fear, reveals itself as one of the many possible ways of interpreting what is happening. Because on the other side of fear is growth. You begin to take back your power. Fear is like a door that you have to walk through at the mercy of external circumstances. You are really committed to what you want. Become a tree with deep roots. So how can you deal with this fear of remaining firm even in the midst of the storm? The first tool is awareness. Not because you control when what you feel fear arise, but because you have learned to control how you perceive or allowing it to paralyze you. If this resonates with you, what exactly am I share your experience? When we dissect in the comments, we often find that it is not until about a time when you were able to see a difficult situation from a new perspective. Afraid of rejection. Your testimony may be exactly what someone needs to read today. When you examine each of their own journey of transformation, you realize that they are emotional reactions are like rivers that flow from deep ancient sources. The second tool is to understand why we react the way we do. To overcome fear, we need to explore the origin of these emotional currents. You don't have to feel completely confident without us before taking the next step. From the moment we arrive in absolute security is an illusion. We begin to create emotional maps based on a level of uncertainty. A child who receives unconditional love, the easier it will be to where the world feels safe. Action creates momentum. Another who faces rejection or inconsistency. Another powerful tool is to remember that you are not alone and necessary to survive. While your personal initial maps are not consciously millions of people around the world are facing adaptive responses to our environment. We are all on this journey of these patterns deepen and become automatic. The fear you feel is not just experience tends to be interpreted through the filter of past experiences. Knowing that others are also facing and overcoming pain can give you the your emotional system will learn to protect you. In addition to fear, activating defense another common companion in the face of any situation that remotely resembles that. Maybe you feel like you're on the verge of taking a big step, an instinctive response, but you're not sure what the exact path will be or here we find what psychologist Carl Jung clarity can be overwhelming. Those parts of ourselves we would like to know what will deny or hide. We want guarantees that everything will work out before we take risks. The fascinating thing about the shadow is that even though we try to keep it hidden, uncertainty is part of the process of itself in our lives. And just like fear is not something or someone touches these instead of trying to control every detail or waiting or action everything is others can affect us so deeply. You need to learn to trust the process. When someone says something that resonates with an insecurity everything is turning out the way we are not just reacting to even if you can't see every step of the way, but to an entire emotional story that is activated doesn't come the way you expect it. It's as if these words drop opportunities that rise unexpectedly and solutions present themselves in ways you didn't expect. Why can a casual comment about your work trigger an emotional storm in you? The universe has the ability to rearrange things so that you are in the right place at the right time to make your breakthrough. What it touches inside you. However, if you focus too much on a deep-seated fear of what that not being enough look like, removes memories you could end up missing out on the opportunities that are right in front of you. Our most intense emotions one way to deal with uncertainty is to focus on what you can control. To be acknowledged. You may not know exactly how your breakthrough will happen. Disproportionate anger may indicate boundaries that have been repeatedly crossed, and your actions. Paralyzing fear can reveal limiting beliefs about and keep making decisions that move you closer to your goals. Deep sadness can show even if you can't see the whole picture right now. That need to be focusing on what you can control. Instead of seeing these emotions as enemies to fight or weaknesses to overcome circumstances, we can begin to treat them as messengers that bring valuable information about our inner world. That your breakthrough when an intense emotion arises, the universe is constantly communicating or letting it drag you down, sending little hints. You can pause and ask yourself, "What is this emotion showing me about myself?" An unexpected conversation that brings you clarity. What long-held an opportunity that seems to come out of nowhere. This compassionate curiosity even an inner feeling that emotion is changing. First, when you are aligned with what you really want, you begin to notice these consciously begins to lose. Maybe you've been thinking about making a career change. What we bring to light someone can no longer operate in shadows. Or perhaps you are looking for a solution to a personal problem and without realizing it for our emotional someone offers you advice. We don't consciously choose the patterns we develop in childhood. These signs are not coincidences we accumulate throughout our lives. They are the universe leading you to your big break. We relate to these parts of ourselves. But to write them down, you have to every time someone or you need to be aware of what is happening around you. You can see it as an invitation to learn more about yourself. As you move forward, instead of focusing all your attention on the external attitude of gratitude, you can look not only does gratitude help you maintain positive energy activated right now, but it also allows you to acknowledge every changes your relationship with experience. We are often transforming it from an external threat we forget into an opportunity for we have already made. Herein take a moment to reflect on how much you have grown. When you understand that your emotional reactions are not just responses to what happens allows you to enjoy the process, expressions of your inner world. Breakthrough occurs. You begin to regain the power toward the big change you've been waiting for. You stop being a victim of what others say or do, fundamental and become an explorer of your own emotional territory. Many of us think increasingly able to navigate its currents with wisdom, like a stroke of luck, or an instant within your being. However, the truth is that most major advances unchanged, are the result even in the most inconsistent emotional that build into great momentum. It is like the bottom of the ocean. This impulse will carry you through moments while the waves churn on the fear and fatigue. This inner presence is what helps you overcome inertia when you feel like you can't what we might call the inner observer. But to maintain that momentum, you must cultivate consistent energy. Many spiritual teachers, and this is where many people make the mistake of thinking they should wait until they are motivated to act. Of our deepest nature. They believe that momentum comes naturally when everything feels right. Of the psyche, but in reality, which momentum comes and at the same time integrates all aspects of our personality. Once you start moving, it is that even if it's just that can contemplate our thoughts, you begin to generate the internal energy that drives you forward. When you learn to pushing a snowball down inner observer, initially, it may require considerable effort to get it moving. You are no longer just your anger, gains momentum, your fear, it moves on its own and gains strength. You are also the one who how can you make sure you keep moving forward toward your big break? Deeper shift. The key is discipline. Creates a space. Discipline is not a word that many people like to hear because they associate it with sacrifice or rigidity. Imagine for a moment that you are in a difficult situation. When you are disciplined in your daily actions and in the small decisions you make, you feel the anger rising through your body that allows you to move forward without faster, depending on whether you feel motivated or not. The usual reaction would be to let yourself be carried away by this current creating habits that move you closer to what you're looking for. These habits don't have to be huge of the inner observer. You have another option. They can be as simple as taking a few minutes each day to work on your goal. I am experiencing anger now. Or I can feel gratitude. The heat in my face. Consistency is tension in my hands. Over time, the defensive thoughts these little habits in my mind and provide the momentum you need the emotion, so you're ready to welcome nor allowing break. Yourself to another be important aspect of building just and maintaining this full attention is surrounding yourself with a conscious observation. This includes you are no longer completely identified with the people you live with. There is a part of you that remains distractions. center,
chaos,
able
or
to
negativity,
choose your next step.
it will be much
That
harder
space
to maintain
between
the
stimulus
focus
and energy
response
you need to move
is where
forward.
your freedom lies.
But if you surround
The
yourself
mystic
with
and
things that
philosopher
inspire
Viktor
you
Frankl
and remind you
expressed
why
this
you do what
wonderfully
you do,
when he said,
it will be much
between
easier
the
to keep the
stimulus
momentum
and the
going.
response,
The same
there is
goes
a
for the
space.
people around
In
you.
that space
If the
lies
people
our
you
power
spend
to
time
choose
with
our
don't share your
response.
values
In
or
our
goals,
response
or
lies our
constantly
growth
filling
and
our
our
freedom,
doubt and negativity.
cultivating this
This can
ability
drain your
to
energy.
observe doesn't
It's important
happen
to surround
overnight.
yourself with
It is a
people who
practice,
support you,
a spiritual
who believe in
muscle
you
that
and are
grows
ready to
stronger
accompany
with
you on
constant
this
exercise.
journey.
These people
Start
remind
with
you of
simple
your
moments.
strength when you
When you
forget it
feel
and
an
help you
emotion
keep the
arise
momentum
instead
going
of
when you feel
immediately
like you can't take it
identifying with it.
anymore. Try
At the
giving
same
it a
time,
name.
it is important that you pay attention
I'm
to your
noticing
internal
frustration.
dialogue. The way you talk
Sadness
to yourself
present now.
can be one of
This
the
simple
deciding
act
factors
of naming
in your
your
emotions
success.
already
If you
creates a
constantly
small
tell
distance,
yourself that you are
allowing
not
you
enough,
to relate to
that
them
you are not
differently.
ready,
Another
or that you will
powerful
never
practice
achieve it is
you are
paying
sabotaging
attention
your
to
own
the
momentum.
physical sensations
But if you
that
talk to
accompany
yourself
your
in a
emotional
kind,
states.
Where do you
Encouraging
feel
and
emotion
reassuring
in your
manner
body?
that you are on
Is
the
it
right
pressure
path,
in your chest?
you will notice your
tension
energy
in your
changing.
jaw? You
A
don't
knot
have to
in your
wait
stomach?
for everything
By
to be
bringing
perfect
your
to
attention
move
to
forward.
these bodily
In
sensations,
fact,
you
breakthroughs
naturally
often
enter
happen
the
right
role
when
of
things aren't
observer,
perfect.
not
When
trying
you
to
allow
change
yourself
or
to move forward
control
despite
what
your
you feel.
circumstances.
You are
Life
just
rarely
witnessing
presents
it
the
with
perfect
gentle
scenario
curiosity.
for the bold step
Over
that will
time, you
change
begin
everything.
to realize that
There
you
will
can be
always
with
be
any
challenges.
emotion,
There
no
will
matter how
always be
intense,
reasons to doubt,
without losing your
But what
center.
really separates
Even
those
in the
who make
midst
great
of fear,
progress from those who
you can
stagnate
access
is
a
the
dimension
willingness
of
to
calm.
move forward.
Interior.
Even when the
Even
path
in
is
sadness,
unclear or things
you can
don't go as
connect with a
expected.
quality of
This is
openness
where
and
the concept
compassion
of
for the
flexibility
experience.
comes into
The
play.
emotions keep
The closer
coming.
you get to your
You
big
are human,
breakthrough,
after all,
the more
but
there
they
may
no
be
longer
setbacks
define
or
you,
detours
nor
along the way.
determine your actions.
And when that happens,
This state
it's
of
easy
conscious
to feel like
presence
you've
is
failed
not only
or
a
that you're
refuge
losing
in
the
difficult
momentum you
times,
worked so hard to
it
build.
is also a platform
But flexibility
for wiser
allows
and
you
more
to
effective
adapt to
action in the world.
circumstances and
When
continue
you
moving
respond from
forward
the inner
even when the
observer
path
rather than
changes.
reacting
Being
emotionally,
flexible means
your
being
words
willing
and
to
actions
adjust
are born
focus
from
and
a
change
deeper
direction
place.
when necessary.
They are not
without
mere
losing
automatic
sight
reactions
of the end goal.
conditioned by the
It
past,
doesn't mean giving up on
but
what you
authentic
want,
expressions of
but
who
rather
you
being
are in this
open to
moment.
different ways to
The
achieve
internal
it.
observer also
Sometimes
allows
what you
you
think
to
is
see
a beyond
beyond
your
your
own
own
setback
filters
is
and
actually a
prejudices.
detour to something
When someone
better.
says something
It's
that would
important
normally
that you
offend
allow
you,
yourself to
you may
learn
notice
from
these
these
deviations
deviations
rising
rather
within
than
you,
viewing them as
but
mistakes.
you can also see past
Every
it.
obstacle
You may be
face
able
can
to
teach you
sense the
something.
fear or pain
Maybe it's a
behind
lesson
the other
in
person's
patience,
words.
Perhaps
Persistence,
you understand
or
that her
humility.
behavior, like
Maybe
yours,
it will show you a
is
part of you
conditioned
that
by your
still
own
needs to grow
experiences and
before you
wounds.
can receive
This
what you are looking
understanding
for.
does not mean
Whatever
that
it
you tolerate
is,
harmful
if
behaviors,
you approach these challenges
but
with
that
an
you
open
respond
mind
to them
and an
with
attitude
clarity
of learning
rather than
resistance.
resistance.
The
You will
constant
become
practice
stronger
of the
and
inner
better
observer
prepared
gradually
for what
leads
lies
you
ahead.
to a state of inner
One way
freedom,
to maintain
where,
this flexibility
although
and
emotional
openness
storms
is
still
to
occur,
meditate or
you are no
reflect
longer
daily.
the storm.
By taking
You
a few
are the
minutes a
vast
day to
sky
be
that
silent,
contains it.
focus,
Emotions come and go
connect
like
with your inner
passing
being.
clouds.
You can
But your
begin to
deepest
pay
essence
attention to the
remains
more subtle
spacious
signs
and
of what you
serene,
need to adjust
like
or
the blue
change in your
sky
life.
beyond all the
Meditation
clouds.
helps you
And
clear
from
your
this
mind
space
of
of
noise
inner
and
clarity,
external
you
distractions,
discover that nothing
and allows
no
you to
one
listen
anymore
to your
has the power
intuition.
to disturb
Not
your
only
essential
will this
peace,
approach help you
because you
maintain
have found an
momentum,
anchorage in
but
that
it will
which is
also help
beyond
you
all
make the
disturbance.
necessary adjustments
The emotions
so
we
you
call
can continue
negative,
to move forward
fear,
more efficiently.
anger,
Additionally,
sadness,
it is
shame,
important that you take the
guilt,
time to acknowledge
are perhaps
and
the ones
celebrate
we
your
most
progress
resist
as you build
experiencing.
and maintain
From
the
a young
momentum
age,
for your progress.
many of us
We
learn
often
that these
focus
emotions
so
are
much on the
problematic,
end goal that we
they
forget
must be
to appreciate
controlled,
the small successes
overcome,
along
or
the way.
worse,
Every
repressed.
step you take,
Don't cry,
no matter how
don't be
small,
afraid, don't be
brings
angry.
you one step
These are
closer to
phrases
progress
that we
and
probably
deserves
heard
recognition.
frequently as children.
Celebrating your
Thus,
progress,
without realizing
no matter
it,
how
we
insignificant
develop
it may
a
seem,
relationship of struggle
boosts
with
your
a natural
motivation
and
and
essential
reminds
part
you
of
that
our
the
human
effort is worth
experience.
it.
What
You don't
we didn't
have to wait
understand at the
until
time
you reach
and
your
what many
goal
still
to
don't
feel
understand is
satisfaction.
that these
The
emotions are
simple
not our
fact of
enemies.
moving forward
They are
and
messengers,
persevering despite
carriers
the
of valuable
challenges is
information
something to
and fulfill
celebrate.
essential evolutionary
Finally,
functions
as
that
you
have helped
prepare
care humanity for your survive and prosper for millennia. You need to remember that everything in life happens in possible dangers. There will be times when you feel energized and enthusiastic, and others when you feel exhausted or discouraged. And let go of what no longer serves us. These cycles are natural and are not every emotion you are failing. Even the most uncomfortable will not happen. They are simply part of the inherent wisdom. Learn the problem is not in the emotions themselves, rather than against them, but in our relationship during high energy moments, when we fight against what we feel, when we judge our emotions as good or bad, and in moments of low energy, when we completely identify with them or try to repress them, knowing that momentum will return. Your big old proverb says, all the pain is inevitable, persistence, but commitment and trust in the process. Difficult emotions are part of life. Maybe you got the job, but the extra suffering we create around them is something we can learn to dissolve. Or how then do we transform our relationship with these emotions? However you move forward, the first step is radical to know that this is just the beginning of a new chapter. Passively resigning yourself, and although you may now be full of joy and contentment, it means acknowledging the reality of what is happening in your inner world right now, deepening and expanding this progress. It's like when many people accomplish a major accomplishment or not because you enjoy their company, but because you know that resisting their presence no longer only gives you more power. When you feel that they have reached their final goal and that from this moment instead of trying to change it or get rid of it, but in reality, give yourself permission to feel it that way. I am embracing personal growth are not fixed goals. I'm allowing him to be here, but rather constantly evolving processes. This attitude of openness is just another step already on the ladder of your personal experience of emotion. And how you move on from there will determine what comes next. But it changes your relationship to maintaining the right reduces the control it has over you. To recognize another powerful practice is finding the message. Achieving a goal does not mean you are done. Each emotional state rather that you now have the opportunity to use what you have learned and achieve. Fear may be pointing out a need for security or this continuous mindset, anger may be indicating that every breakthrough is just a starting point for something greater. Sadness mentality will help you avoid one of the biggest pitfalls after a big accomplishment. When you learn to listen to these messages, complacency difficult emotions become teachers after achieving what you were looking for. Carl Jung expressed this idea profoundly when he said that what we have done enough and that you no longer need to grow or learn. It sinks into the unconscious. The problem with complacency where it continues to affect us in ways that we cannot control. In the long run, it can cause you to lose when we bring these energies into the light of pushing yourself and looking for ways to transform them. You risk what seem to be our weakness, and even when it seems like you've reached the top, consider fear. Life always goes on. Instead of seeing it as a sign of cowardice or weakness, you can learn to relate to it as an indicator that you are stepping out of an expansion mindset and always be open to new ideas and new learning. Instead of allowing yourself to be paralyzed by it, the key to avoiding complacency is to keep alive and ask yourself curiosity. What wise action can I take that acknowledges this caution? Keep asking yourself questions. Doesn't leave me stuck. Keep challenging yourself to improve. When experienced consciously, and keep looking for opportunities to grow into all areas of your life, into an energy of no matter how many achievements you achieve. Instead of acting impulsively on anger, something feel it in your body. Recognize its message about limits and the world around you, and then channel that energy into constructive action that addresses the root cause of the situation. When we're working toward a big goal, we often become so focused without achieving that goal that we forget to take care of process of emotional cleansing. Maybe you've been working long hours in a culture that often avoids this emotion. Or even allowing yourself to fully feel your sadness can be a revolutionary act of self-care and authenticity. It's time to remember that practical technique for working with difficult emotions is what we might call emotional alchemy. It's important that you take time to recharge your consciously transforming the energy and emotionally. Start by identifying and naming the emotion permission to celebrate your success. Then locate it and observe how it manifests physically and energetically. Effort you put in. Then breathe into this sensation. Self-care is not a luxury, but allowing your conscious breath by taking care of yourself and open it. You will ensure that you are in the best possible position to continue or resource to maintain what you have achieved. Maybe it's courage. Additionally, compassion. It is important that you reflect on everything you have learned. By invoking this quality, the road to ascension allow the energy of difficult emotion to transmute into something that nourishes and strengthens you. After you overcome this barrier, practice is not a method to quickly get rid and reflect on how these lessons shaped you. It is a path to developing a wiser and more compassionate relationship. What have you discovered about your entire emotional experience? Your strengths and your opportunities for improvement. You will discover that reflection is a powerful tool because it allows you to consolidate what you have learned and apply it understanding. If you just move on without thinking about it, it is not the emotions themselves that determine your well-being well in your next but your relationship with life. Always when you stop fighting your emotional experience, and if you can integrate these lessons into your being, you will discover that nothing you feel has the power to bring you down. A crucial aspect of the emotional waves will after a big breakthrough is surrounding yourself with people who support you and challenge you to be even the biggest ones. The people you spend time with have a profound impact on your energy, strongest ties that keeps most people your ability to the opinions and actions of others. Make sure you surround yourself with people who share your values. This need has deep roots and in our social nature. To keep going even as human beings, achieved great we evolved in communities it's easy to be tempted to surround yourself literally with people who praise you or who don't challenge you. Being rejected by the tribe, these relationships won't help you grow. In the early days, you need people who push you to grow. Although today we no longer physically depend on the acceptance of others. These people will not only support you, but also help you focus on your continued growth. The need for approval to moving forward is to value and accepted by those around us continues to be a fundamental not just to the motivates much of our behavior, but to every day without us realizing it. Constantly notice for a moment how many of your daily decisions are influenced, helps you appreciate what you have by what others might think, and opens you to receiving the clothes you choose, the opinions you express, connects you to the goals you pursue, already exist even the way you behave reminds you that there is always more. How many times have you stopped no matter how far you have come for fear of gratitude allows you to how many times have you sought positive and open attitude It will help you see the opportunities even in the challenges and remind you that despite great progress, the price we pay for this dependence on external validation is immense. Finally, every time we adjust our truth is not just about you. Every time when you achieve something important in your life, every time we allow the opinions of others to determine your success, growth, we are giving away our power. Serve as an we are handing over the keys to our inner peace. By continuing to advance and grow, never give us the true satisfaction we desire, but also pave the way for others to follow in the name of social acceptance. You may not even notice internal tension that eventually seeks resolution. But I assure you that there are people in your life who are anxiety, by your example, depression, your ability to overcome persistent sense that something is missing from our lives. And continue to grow after a breakthrough is a light to others. Who we really when you maintain a continuous growth mindset, freedom from this dependence begins with an honest recognition of how deeply it is rooted to take their own steps forward. It's not something we can just decide to abandon much bigger than yourself. It is a practice. It becomes a source of graduation and change for those around it. Creating a domino on this path is to develop a more conscious relationship to work on your own values and continuing to look for ways to really matters to expand your awareness beyond what you will help improve not only your own life, but also the lives of those around you. Yes.